What is the best investment any student can make in the upcoming year of 2023? Is it investing more time, investing more money, investing more equipment or resources? The best investment any student can make in 2023 is to learn how to learn, because your job as a student is to learn. So instead of rereading notes, rewriting notes, and cramming for every exam, if you actually know how to learn, you can become more effective and you can save a hell of time because you're going to learn for the rest of your life. This begs the obvious question: how do we learn how to learn? But actually, there's a science behind it, and it's called meta learning. And it's actually a process of learning how to learn. And that's why it's going to be a good investment for you, because it's going to pay off for years to come. When you learn meta learning techniques, you'll be able to save time and learn faster. And unfortunately, a lot of students spend years with trial and error and finding what best works for them. So what we're going to do is try to skip through all that headache and just give you the actionable steps so you can apply it in your life and become a way better student. So a very big disclaimer: this is not just some fancy smancy way just to poof results over the air. It's going to call for work. And to do that, we're going to get into the process of how you actually use metacognition and meta learning. It's a 3-step process. You plan, you monitor, and then you evaluate. We're going to go in depth on how you can use each of these steps to improve your learning. How do you plan? Is it just saying, well, it's 5:30, everyone probably study from 6 to 7. We can see what happens. We read some notes, we write some notes. No, I beg you, if there's anything you get from this video, do not be that person. Be more deliberate in how you plan. So you're going to ask yourself these questions, right? Because there's a question-based framework around this. What are your strengths and your weaknesses? What's the nature of what you're trying to learn? And what strategies are you going to use? For example, you could have an issue focusing. You may want to implement a strategy such as, well, the Pomodoro method. We actually have a very in-depth article on our website that talks about how persons who have issues focusing or have ADHD could use a system like the Pomodoro method, have a set amount of time on to study or be productive. You have a break, a set time on with a break, and you repeat that process as long as possible to increase your productivity. Number 2, what is the nature of what you're learning? If you're learning a language, the purpose of you learning the language is simply to have conversations and speak with other persons about the language.
So this video for the future, I just wanted to clarify what I meant to say is that if you're learning a language with the intention of having conversations within that language, and that being the purpose of why you're learning the language, just to clarify.
Do not go and stress about essay writing or you knowing where to put the little tick on the accent. No, that is not what your purpose in learning the thing is.
You read from the future again, so hopefully you get the point that if you were trying to learn a language to speak it and have conversations, you should focus about how you should try to write the language. Your main focus should only be how to speak the language,
right? So similarly, what are you learning for? You have to be something that's realistic. If you're learning the thing to be good at the thing, you probably want to do everything. But you need to be honest. What portion of the subject are you actually thinking of using? What portion of the skill is going to best apply after you leave school or after you finish your course into whatever your objective is in life? And then finally, you want to think about the strategies to get there. Think about what is going to best get you to that goal. You talk about what your weaknesses are, what you're learning. Google, what's the best way to learn math? Best way to learn a language, right? Or how do you get better at coding or strategies? Or the best, another good way, another free tip along with the others that we're going to discuss later. Probably ask someone who did the thing before so they can guide you on what you could avoid. So learn from others. And what we're going to do now is get into 2 strategies that are awesome that I've found that assisted me the most in my journey. First is active recall. And active recall is actually testing yourself or getting your brain accustomed to testing yourself so that when it's tested in the exam, you're ready. So how I did that, I had a software that generated such cards for me, and I just drilled them all the time, to the point where my brain was, my function of learning was so stretched to the point that I was accustomed with being in a test environment, so that by the time I got to my exam, is not the first time I was in test conditions. Number 2, reciprocal teaching or teaching someone else. For me, when I had study groups and each body did a topic, each person teach someone else the topic that they research, saves a bunch of time and was very informative for me. Because when you teach something, you actually have to think about a simple way to explain this, not just for yourself, but so someone else can ingest and be able to digest that information and actually use it. You're going to be in a position where you understand it so well backwards and forwards that when the exam comes, it is a piece of cake. Monitoring progress. This is probably the most straightforward thing. Given that most of you watching this are going to be students, only way right now in school that is used to monitor progress is results, exams, and your grade. So it'd be good to use a lot of practice tests to see if you're actually improving. That's going to be a good indicator. If you can actively see yourself getting better at the skill. So for example, it could be a case now where a certain level of difficulty of question probably usually takes you 10 minutes. No, it takes you 7, then it takes you 5. That is also could be a way of monitoring your progress to see if you're improving. But whatever system you use, make sure that you take, no doubt, detailed notes of how you are progressing, even journal your progress, something like that. But you want to be able to see, well, to this point, I've improved this amount using this strategy. I think I should be improving more. Let me switch it and use something else. So our third step, evaluating. This calls you to be very, very in depth and scrutinize your process, right? But having the ability to say, well, let me try one longer length of study. For example, persons may not be studying long enough to get into a rhythm or a flow, and by the time they cut off for their little break period, they are now getting into it. The person that may be better suited for longer periods of study, shorter periods of study, also need to criticize the techniques that you're using. Are there more impactful techniques that you could use? And that may be just by means of trying new things. But also brutal honesty with yourself to ensure that what you're doing is working in the time required. Because if we're being honest, rereading and rewriting notes works on some level, but the time it would take for you to master something by rereading and rewriting your notes, by that time the exam gone, you done fail and you kick out of school. We don't want that. You need to keep the time and the end in mind, being that are you progressing fast enough so that by the time the exam or whatever goal that you want to reach comes around, you are actually prepared. And these are steps that you can use. Plan effectively, have an actual thought out process from a bird's eye view of what is necessary, and just don't do what is comfortable. Have a means by which you can monitor what you are doing. So journal it, list it, have a system around it. I don't care, but be able to track your progress. And then finally, look over your progress. Am I making the improvements that I need necessary to reach my goals? Can I be doing this a different way that is going to be more impactful or more rewarding in whatever I'm doing? Abraham Lincoln had this wonderful statement which kind of embodies everything we're talking about this. Sharpen the axe. Don't just go and chop down the tree, because the axe could be dull and you could spend 6 hours trying to cut down the tree. But if you spend 2 hours sharpening the axe and the axe is like lightning sharp, instead of spending 6 hours cutting down the tree, you might spend a half hour. So you spend 2 hours sharpening the axe, a half hour cutting down the tree, instead of just chopping down the tree and doing it in 6 hours. Learn how to learn. Have a process. Have strategic plans in what you're doing. Don't just strike the air. Make sure that you're actually having systems and processes around your study, and you're going to be light years ahead, because the majority of students just study by rereading, rewriting notes, and cramming for every exam. Have a process and you'll be 10 times better than anybody in your class. If you love the educational and informative content we provide, you can click over here to watch another great video. Other than that, remember to claim your free ebook and your free consultation in the link below, because here at WebLearn, we're dedicated to making better students, and we want you to be one of those students. Otherwise, have an awesome day and continue learning.